About some of the advantages of cellular connectivity.
For sure.
So, Ben, you want to kick us off? Why Cradlepoint over MiFi?
Yeah, so specifically Cradlepoint over MiFi, just on the connectivity, right? Just reaching out, touching the tower. You have a better, more robust onboard radio, dual band radio. You have the ability to speak on multiple bands simultaneously. So in rural environments like the middle of nowhere, Idaho, where I grew up, or in metro environments like New York City, having the ability to talk to the tower where other devices fail and or can't connect becomes pretty essential to ensuring that everything you're trying to accomplish during that election is getting from point A to point B, and preventing those truck rolls, right? Preventing the need to have to go out into the field and fix something when it goes bad. So that's why having a Cradlepoint over a MiFi on the connection side is important. On the physical security side, Skinner, I know you've got some great use cases, things that you've deployed in the field. On the security side, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, hey, I looked at us as being kind of a success redundancy with elections, and it layered. Most know us in many other platforms, like they know us in the mobile platforms where we have less than 1/10 of 1% hardware failure rate. But when COVID hit, obviously there was a big need to add election sites. So a lot of people that weren't at the branch side, weren't familiar with us, were concerned about security. And what was great on that was we were able to deploy our engineers to help them configure, to prove to them that it's secure, to test, to check for signal connectivity. Hey, the big thing was nobody wanted to be in the news. We all heard that a lot.
Yes, sir.
Nobody wanted to be in the news, and hey, Cradlepoint didn't want to be either. We wanted to have a successful election season, and man, it was really epic. But security-wise, we checked those boxes with what we deploy within our solutions.
For sure. No, and a couple of things I experienced on the East Coast when we were working with several election groups out there, and then also in the South, all across the board. The MiFis are so they are used. Right, they have a usefulness in this world. They're designed to be a one-to-one. What we're seeing in the client, at least from my experience, and Paul Garcia, if you want to jump in here, what I'm seeing is more and more connected solutions in that election environment. Right, if we go way back to, down in Florida during Bush Gore, right, whole lots of paper chads and hanging this and envelope that. We're getting away from that, right? More secure, more chain of custody from a network standpoint versus having a bunch of paper leaflets out there. So what I've been seeing on my side was just the overall client count is much more robust in nature than what those MiFis were ever intended to operate, especially in a congested environment where you may have 200 to 300 people waiting in line outside. They're all on their cell phones. They're all hitting the tower at the same time. You just created a significant bubble of degradation and congestion that MiFis just weren't built to handle. So getting that data from those poll books or those vote tabulation machines, it just doesn't operate that effectively. What are your thoughts, Paul Garcia?
No, Ben, you're 100% correct. I mean, the MiFis, the hotspot, jetpacks, whatever you want to call them, they're a consumer product, right? Granted, the price is right. Sometimes it's very cheap, or sometimes the carriers are offering them for free. So I can understand the needs from a county election office where say, hey, let's go this route because it's very cost effective. But in terms of the actual effectiveness and particularly, like you said, the security and being able to attach multiple devices, they're not designed for that. And as Skinner said, look, our goal, as well as I know, hearing it from a lot of our customers, is to keep you guys out of the news. Nobody wants to be on the front page or even the back page of any news during an election as it relates to their election offices. So the security is key. Our devices can handle multiple, or our routers can handle multiple devices connected to them. They can be connected to multiple carriers, so you have redundancy. We've got, I'll mention LA County Register Recorder is one of our key customers, and they'll actually use three carriers because they want to make sure, again, that everything stays connected.
Yeah.
So I don't want to beat this over with a dead horse, but it definitely MiFis, they have their place, but they are definitely more a consumer product.
Yeah, good point, man. Yeah, I think we're
Covered that one pretty well.
we're good.
Absolutely. Next one, how secure is Cradlepoint?
Well, I believe Cradlepoint is extremely secure, but we've got the experts on here. So one of you two gentlemen want to take that?
Yeah, they are. I mean, you hit it, and I mentioned that before. That the secure part is tied in to everything we do, and our routers have it built in. There's a firewall built in to each and every router that we sell.
Yeah.
It's connected via the cloud, via Net Cloud Manager, which is the ability to monitor, control, because that's another part of it. Not only is it the security, but wait a minute, we're going to have a lot of these devices out there. How do we control them? And that was something actually we didn't bring up for the MiFis. And I know you can work with the carriers, and sometimes they can set up private tunnels and whatnot. But really, to have that ability to go out and control it. And Ben, you touched on it earlier. Really with kind of that chain of custody.
Yeah.
So that really ties in. I mean, that's a key point. Got to know, and you can do that via Net Cloud Manager, and then again having that firewall that's built in, and that's what many of our customers, and we'll talk about as we get into it. There's different ways to utilize the Cradle
For sure.
but one of the ways is directly into the database that has your election roles. So if somebody needs to come in and maybe they haven't even registered to vote, they want to do it on the spot. They're changing election locations, whatever it may be. We can provide that secure connection to your database where you want to make sure nobody has access, only those that are critical and that need to have access.
Yeah, and
Skinner, is there anything else? Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. The only thing I wanted to add to that, so from a network security standpoint, right, you guys provide one of the best solutions globally, right? There's a reason why, if you look at closely enough, it pictures the Oval Office. There's only one type of router sitting in there, and it's not the other guys. Let's just put it that way. It's certainly not a MiFi, right? So what I would say, and some of our customers have asked us for, that physical security too. Did somebody try to plug into the LAN port? Did somebody unplug a LAN port? Did somebody try to connect to the Wi-Fi that wasn't authenticated, right? That physical intrusion and security overview, that's worth its weight in gold, because now you don't just know what's going on with your network. You actually have tabs on what's going on with the heartbeat of that device remotely, and being able, like you said, remotely manage that. But SMS, email, dashboard alerts, being able to have that all at your fingertips. You concentrate on keeping the network alive. We concentrate on keeping the network secure, as well as that device. And I think that's where us and you combined provide that significant ability to anybody that might deploy this over a normal solution. So
Yeah, for sure.
Appreciate that, Paul.
Cool. All right, so let's look at modernizing for the future. Okay, so how can Cradlepoints help governments optimize future operations? So
Yeah.
when I was writing this question, I was kind of thinking, obviously this is something that you want to use at polling locations.
Yeah.
Could it lead to speed of results, being sent out? Could it lead to, shortening lines? Like, what are some other ways, I guess, that it could be utilized?
Skinner, I know you, especially in California, you and I were, while I was hitting the East Coast, you were hitting the West Coast with some of this stuff. What are some of the things you encountered?
Yeah, hey, I had the benefit of working already pretty closely with a lot of the county ITs. There was one person in particular, and I'm just going to say his name, but it's Matt Smith in San Luis Obispo, and he'd taken our solutions and designed it to fit within his network. And really, through the 16 of the 25 that ended up using us during the elections, and more since then because of the word of mouth that transferred, it was his design that we used, and it was really just worked flawlessly. Not a single of those 16 had an issue. What I loved about what we did is we worked with him to understand how he designed it. Then he helped also broadcast that design securely to the other agencies, the counties. And then we had our engineer involved, because the IT teams are always lean, especially in elections.
Right.
They ended up bringing in the county folks to help you. I'm sure you dealt with that as well. But we we really showed them how to rapidly deploy the solution, test the solution. They had a lot of visibility into the network, and they had it on the fly. Meaning they could see it on their mobile devices, how things were connected.
Yeah.
And then we had behind our engineers that helped them design, this, we had our support team behind them on alert, ready for any calls. Unfortunately, we didn't have any come in.
Yeah.
So it ended up being incredibly successful. But because of NetCloud, how we built that out, it just made for an easy deployment and put them at ease. And hey, it's been great since. They're using us more and more in different applications. So that's what I see.
I think one of the things, so you touched on it, and it's just, talking for more what we see in the field, right? Most elections, be it the largest of the large, right, down to the smallest counties in Idaho that we've worked with, when we look at them and who is manning these poll sites, or whether it be early voting sites, poll sites, register sites, whatever it may be, who's managing? Well, 9 times out of 10, it's a volunteer. It's a volunteer with no network background. And what my customers asked us for is, we do have a lean IT group. We don't have thousands of people on the ground, and we don't have a robust network IT group that's going to march each one of these in and worry about placement and best cellular coverage and did everything connect as planned. And there's 2 things that every customer I've deployed at, I feel they've, at the end of it, said, this made it the biggest difference. You can go up, hit a button, turn the Cradlepoint on, or plug it into the wall, or use one of our case solutions for just hitting a button on the outside. And anybody at that point, it's already been preset, preloaded. You've already had that engineering support long before go live day, right? We're ready to go. We put all the work in long before the game day, right? Long before that election day arrives. And what we saw was that really freed them up to worry about what they're there for, which is the election. They didn't have to worry about the network. They didn't have to have special people on staff. And it really allowed them to start building around, hey, we don't need somebody delivering and hand setting each one of these up every single time. We can do this without that. And we have the support of NetCloud Manager to make that happen. So I agree with you, Skinner, for the 2 pieces that I offered there. It's got to be easy to turn on. It's got to be able to be ran by anybody, and it's got to be secure, right? So yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And just to add to some of the stuff that we said, but Ben, you're spot on. We see that time and time again, that it is, they're just regular people, right? That these volunteers that are out there, they're not IT people in any sense of the imagination. Although there may be a few out there, and those are the bonuses. But, really thinking about just the ability, a lot of what some of these county elections departments do, they'll create simple little 1 page, here's how it's connected. Call us if there's any issues, and then there isn't. And it's because it's so straightforward. And I think you had touched on a little bit earlier. Some of the really, how does it help for future operations? It is speed, speed in deploying, speed in monitoring that chain of, helping to monitor that chain of custody, speed in the data, and anything beyond that in terms of reporting and seeing the information. One thing I'll touch on, and maybe jumping a little bit ahead, but a lot of what our customers do, because we realize that your polling locations change, right? I know some of the larger counties, you may have 6 elections in a year, so really 1 every other month, and they may go from small elections to big national presidential elections where you're really bringing in a whole bunch of different sites. So we recommend taking one of our smaller routers out there and checking for coverage. What does it look like? Which carrier has the best coverage? If you're just going to only utilize one SIM, which one's going to be?
Yeah.
We do recommend, like I said before, going with a couple of them. Mm-hmm. But there are things like that we've got that experience, and we'll talk a little bit about more. But with the limited amount of time here, I'll kind of jump ahead and say, there probably are questions that you may be thinking of now. Feel free to hit it up in the chat or later, and we'll be definitely able to jump on a call with you. We can bring in our engineers and handle that. We'll probably repeat this at the end of the webinar, but I think it's so important because there are a lot of those critical details. We're setting up the individual networks and systems, to have those discussions. So I just want to throw it about.
Yeah, for sure.
Up front.
Cool.
Absolutely. Let's see. Next question we have here is, what impact could technologies like 5G have on the voting process? Kind of talked about this a little bit already, but one thing that kind of stuck out, and I wrote it down. You were talking about regular people in there, right? So with everyone also wanting to keep out of the news, as you guys were mentioning, expanding the IoT of a location. So not only people connecting, machines connecting, but if you're going to connect, wireless cameras, things like that. What could some of those build outs look like, and how's 5G going to change it versus LTE connections, or some of the existing connectivity, I guess. So yeah, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, no. So on our side, 5G is already this year, right? The R1900, a little fresh on the roadmap last year to really feel comfortable deploying it out in the field. We gave ourselves a little bit of time, but we had some primaries this year that we helped deploy with the 1900. We're deploying the 1900 right now with customers for elections. That thing is a damn workhorse. So first of all, from a client count, being able to connect to just multiple clients in an election environment, being able to connect to multiple client types, not just a single tablet this or tablet that, but multiple client types on separate SSIDs. But then also the ability, because of 5G, helping us navigate between whatever is best of flavor, right? If 5G is available and uncongested, we're going to 5G. If 4G is the best bet based on total latency, jitter, throughput, whatever it may be, we're jumping over to 4G. So that R1900 really ends up doing a lot of that signal strength and quality site survey planning that we were talking about earlier. That's very important. We suggest everybody does that before just leaping in with both feet. But the 1900 can help do a lot of that on site when it's go live, right, time that we just don't see in other devices. And that's why for us, it is our lead. It is our workhorse. We will be promoting it as our F-150 for elections moving forward. And it's a device that's intended, and Skinner or Ball, you can jump in here, but we're banking on that thing being here for the next 2 presidential elections at a minimum. So it's worth the investment.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we just launched that last year. So, and just to be clear too, so everybody's aware of that device, and we'll have some slides on it coming up shortly, but it does work on both 4G and 5G. For those of you that may not be in areas where there is 5G rolled out, or have polling locations that are not in a 5G area. So it works on both. But I think, we've got some of our elections officers that have been with us for a while, that are already looking to upgrade their devices and are upgrading to 5G, such as the R1900 and some of the other ones that we'll show shortly. But they're telling us that they're seeing speeds that beyond what their landline connection is at many of these polling locations. Because a lot of times you've got to update, maybe it's the voter rolls, or there's other information that's got to be pushed or downloaded to the device. And whether, especially if you're running, say, a T1 at a location, or maybe it still even has old dial-up, for some really remote location, or cable, these 5G routers can outperform and do the back end work before you actually get to the elections. Because we realize now, at least in California, and I understand, across the country too, it's not just one single election day, right? Anymore.
Right.
It's a couple of weeks leading up to it. So that prep and the information that has the ongoing information before and during the election, all that data can be pushed, downloaded, uploaded over 5G. And like I said, many times much faster than the landline connection that you may have at the polling location.
Yeah, no, spot on. I agree with you. We have a customer right now who is not in a what we call C-band area. And on their, they have 2 carriers. Neither have a 5G footprint in the city outside of very limited. And we are still pulling, a 120 by 25 throughput, right? So downlink, uplink. So in all honesty, just that's better than I get at my house, right? So and it's solid state, total uptime. We had a trial go on last Tuesday, 16 hours out in the Midwest. Never went down, never dropped below, using the speed test and health status that NCM comes with. We never dropped below 75 down. The majority of the day stayed above 100 meg throughput. So incredible device, incredible capability. And I don't see it going away anytime soon. 5G's here to stay, guys.
Absolutely.
So
Yep. And just one more thing to add, Ben, you mentioned the term C-band, and there may be some people on the call that are not familiar with it.
True.
So there is, when we talk about 5G, and I'll just cover this real quickly, we talk about 3 bands. So the low band, which was kind of part of 4G, if you will, this C-band, which is the new hot one that's been rolled out starting this year, and then there's a millimeter wave. I'll leave it at that and just say, look, if you want to have RCN, Cradlepoint, we're happy to have discussions with you and their teams to explain, 5G, what it means, what it can do in more depth. Because obviously you see on TV and in the media, from all the different carriers, and you don't know what's truth as well. We're agnostic, so our routers work with any of the carriers. So we'll tell you, the facts as they really are. So be happy to, engage on a call with you and your team.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see what's next.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. All right, so election connectivity solutions. PNK. Ben, you want to talk about
Yeah, no.
PNK?
So PNK has a lot of what we've talked about already wrapped up into one bundle, right? There's a couple things. Now, there's a lot of folks that make similar solutions, and I'm going to tell you from my point of view why I believe, after being somebody who actually was at Cradlepoint and sold many solutions from different vendors. I'm not just talking because I work here. This is literally what we've seen needed, right? So first thing, our box allows you, or our kit allows you, to have the lid shut during the election. So from a physical security standpoint, the way our antenna is positioned, what we utilize, it allows us to have something that is not accessible from the outside, right? We have customers that put a chain of custody zip tie on there, same thing that you see on the back of like 18-wheelers or on evidence bags, you name it. They'll put that on there. They'll put a lock on the other side, and it becomes a very safe and secure unit. And if they need to get into it, only an authorized personnel is able to get in it. So that's your physical security piece, upping that security on-prem security footprint, if you will. The high gain antenna that we utilize, we're extremely proud of it. We've been able to have success on the East Coast and in the Midwest, where other manufacturers have failed to be able to connect and or just couldn't make it outside of some of the churches and old schools and old brick buildings that a lot of your polling sites get placed at, right? So how do we deploy in an area that isn't used to having great cell signal? Our box is known for that. And then lastly, we have a LAN port built into the side that can be unplugged, again, so nobody's plugging into your LAN WAN interface without A, your permission, or B, your knowledge. But then we can take one step forward and just make it to where it's not even accessible. And then the power button is on the outside. So legitimately, you can walk in with this case, set it on a table, and hit the power button, and 2.5 minutes later, you have a full-blown 5G connection without any BS, right? Without any delays. And that's the difference between us and a lot of the products out there. There's a lot to choose from. All I would say is give us a shot, and we're happy to put our name in the hat and show you what we can do. Garcia, Skinner, like from your point of view, you don't even have to, don't pat us on the back, but from your point of view, a case solution over a router out in the open, what are your guys' thoughts on that, or what have you seen with your customers? I know many customers have secure sites, and having an open box router is fine for them, but we also know there's several that's not very secure. They've been in the news in the past, and they're trying to keep their name out today. But what are your thoughts?
Skinner, you want to jump in on that? Then I'll add.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's going to depend on the site, and the officials that are managing that site. So when they're going out and doing their site surveys, they may need an antenna that's external to the building. I know that Matt Smith at San Luis Obispo, one of his sites, they actually had someone manning a tent outside that had the Cradlepoint in it.
Yep.
So because they wanted that antenna to be outside to breathe in that LTE signal. So
yep, we've had a few of those too.
It's going to depend on the site, and they can obviously mix it up there. What I really do like about the case, though, is you can then it's a little more flexible.
Yeah.
Because it's durable, and you're not going to see things breaking. Where someone might have dropped it or something like that. You've got a ruggedized case here now to.
And all that,
the
one thing we didn't talk about, and we did see this, especially North Idaho, the last presidential election, huge storms coming through. power outages all over the area, right? So one of the things that our unit does is, as long as you can keep power to your tablets, which a lot of the tablets are battery powered, a lot of the pole counters have a battery backup built into them. Our unit has a 10 to 15 hour battery life baked into it. And that's at high capacity utilization. We had a test just this last, about 2 weeks ago, where, after 6 hours of in-field service managing 20 tablets, we still only dropped right around 60% battery life. So pretty high capacity, full-blown battery-only operations, and we still gave them a solid day of work. So that's another thing, is our box comes with the ability to keep you up and running no matter what might happen.
Yeah, I was just going to add, I mean, we've got in Southern California, we've got some of the county elections that are using primarily these types of cases because they are secure, they're ruggedized, they have that battery backup, and they have that antenna that can pull in signal where, you might not otherwise be able to in the middle of a building with some smaller paddle antennas. So, and I will just add one little example. So one of our customers here, they had about the last election, I think it was about 600-700 polling locations. And they had just purchased quite a few of the new 5G routers. It wasn't the ruggedized one. And, their instructions were to the poll workers, do not move them. Don't touch them. Don't move them. They're fine right where they are. Well, what's happened? Somebody did try to move it. They dropped it and broke it. And so they had to have somebody, kind of follow that chain of custody with one out of the warehouse and drive it over to the new location and get it set up. Now, granted, that was only 1 out of 600 or 700, but that type of stuff does happen in addition to the other benefits that you get from, a kit like this, which are so well, you can just tell by looking at how well they are built and put together.
Yeah, awesome. Let's go to the next one.
For sure.
Thanks, gents. Appreciate you sharing your guys' experience in the field. It's we should do more of these offline because I feel like we could all learn some stuff. The tent idea, having the unit outside, there's some thoughts I have around that. I appreciate you guys sharing those stories. For our purposes, Cradlepoint has a very robust lineup of branch and mobile and adapter series routers. In our opinion, the ruggedized solutions with the advanced package included on them is our best foot forward. It's not the only foot we'll lead forward with, right? We're willing to tailor your solution to your needs. But for us at RCN, it's the right solution every time, right? And that's not just something we throw out there on our watermark. That's literally what leadership here in our engineering team and our tech lab, that's what they dictate. Let's make sure it's exactly what the customer needs. Now, that means we pair it back, great. But this is what we would say is our best foot forward for ruggedization, longevity, the ability to track the unit if somebody tries to remove it from off-site, and then just some of the other pieces that are built into it, like being able to operate on battery backup really quickly, really efficiently, things like that. Skinner, Paul, I know you guys have experience running some of the branch routers. What are your thoughts? And please share some of your success stories around those.
Yeah, hey, what a lot of ours, they use the ruggedized solutions to do the site surveys. So we would really map carrier signal, and we did use almost exclusively the branch gear for the elections. So the E3000s, the 2200s with the advanced package. We also ran a different solution at the core. So we did a kind of a hub and spoke thing.
Yeah.
But we did use these. I mean, I know Santa Barbara just worked with them. They're using that exactly to site survey each location.
Awesome.
So,
thanks, gents.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool. So your mileage may vary, and you have plenty to pick from. So get us on a call, and we'll help walk through what the best solution for you might be.
Yeah. So we've got these here as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The 3000, the 300. So those are those branch series routers that Skinner was mentioning. Incredible solutions, all 5G capable / 5G ready. E300 with an extensive, ability to extend with a second modem as well. So there's a lot of power on this slide, and if you want a full shop, one-stop shop, right? That E3000 is a hell of a tool. So
yeah, and it's really, all these different variables and kind of how you're talking about the the right solution every time and having those conversations beforehand. I love that we do all of that and just make it as easy as possible. Whether it's the push of a button or whatever we do to make it as easy as possible on election day, because that's the last thing you're going to want to worry about.
For sure.
With everything going on. So I haven't seen anything come through in the chat. Feel free to drop any questions you guys might have. I did write down a couple things that I was just curious about as we were going through. So the first one is, we've talked a lot about, different districts. Is there, have you guys worked with different size districts? Are you specializing just in like the biggest cities or the smallest counties, or, what's...
So I've actually worked with an incredible partner of both Cradlepoints and RCNs deploying a statewide solution, right? Similar to what we talked about earlier with the IBR 900 and that ruggedized case. I've also been a part of some of the largest metros in the country, deploying thousands of units at the same time. I've also done 25 unit precincts in the middle of nowhere, Idaho. So what I would say is it's a mixed bag. Everybody that I've experienced or had conversations with, it more comes down to funding, and it more comes down to having the resources. What I can say is on our side, don't let having headcount stop you from deploying the right solution for your election. That's where RCN can help support you. We have one of the world's first 5G NOC support systems in place. Our tech lab is bar none one of the best I've ever gotten to work with. Oh, yeah. So we have the ability to support you even if you don't have the headcount. And then I know Skinner or Paul, from your standpoint, I know on the West Coast it's a mixed bag as well, is it not?
Yep. And I just, if I can just say and support you there on that too, is really it's banking on our wealth of experience now with elections. We're glad to help the smallest counties, which we did. Just like you said, we're LA County, and then you're a lot smaller counties, but they were able to use that same wealth of experience. And hey, we're introducing their own counterparts that might have had that same design. Chances are they're going to trust them more than they will us. But we build that relationship and together, and they don't have to reinvent the wheel that way.
For sure.
So it's nice.
So Paul, I know we've gone over, and I want to make sure we're friendly to everybody's time. Do you have anything to kind of finish off, Mr. Garcia, and share your last 2 cents, sir?
I appreciate that, Ben. Yeah, I'll just reiterate what I said again. I mean, there's questions that people on the call or customers may not be thinking of right now, but may think of later, or may just talk to somebody and go, oh, yeah, I didn't think of that. Please reach out to RCN, reach out to Paul, me, the other Paul as well. And we'll be happy to just either one simply answer the question. We can set up a call. We can go into details about, how your vision or what you would like to see and how it could be designed for your election office. Again, or just maybe you want to find out more about 5G. Happy to do that as well. So appreciate the time. Appreciate the partnership. Ben and Mark, it's been great, and we want to continue and help out, and again, keep our customers out of the news during an election.
Amen to that. Appreciate you guys. You have a good day, and same thing here. If you need anything, RCN's here to support demos, POCs. If you just want to kick the tires and figure out if it might be right for you, let us know, and we'll be there for you.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you.